Ma'ams and sirs, welcome to the Jarrett Bellman Show. We're located here at the Center for Arts and Entertainment. My goal is to assist you in your personal and professional growth by talking to community leaders like our guest today, Victoria Dunkle. This episode is brought to you by Pro 16 Productions. Pro 16 Productions combines experience, passion, and innovation to capture the essence of your projects. Victoria Dunkle is the Director of Communications and PR at AdventHealth Hendersonville. And normally we'd go into a big introduction, but with everything going on today, we want to get right into the conversation and talk about the coronavirus, COVID-19, and how it's impacting our community here in Hendersonville and Henderson County and the surrounding areas, North Carolina. We're going to get into a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is something that is... it's called a novel coronavirus, which means it's a new coronavirus. This whole experience is novel. We hear so many people saying we've never gone through this in our lifetime. And there are so few of us who have really ever experienced something on this level.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people saying that this is going to be our kids' generation. They remember when. So we had the JFK, we had 9/11. This is going to be our kids, and that the impact of that in our own homes. Like we're home. How do we act as parents? How do we act as a family? How do we act in our community? This is going to be remembered on for a long time, which is important and scary. But let's not lead with fear. Let's talk about where we are right now. What phase of this are we in?
Sure, we're hearing a lot of people talk about phases and elements to this, and there really are phases when it comes to things like a pandemic or an epidemic. And we start with usually what's called the containment phase, and then you move into the mitigation phase, and then it's the surge phase, and so on. And different, you might have different terminology for this, but those are kind of like the three basic approaches to it. So we've been in containment really since we started to hear it trickling out and understanding what was going on in this epicenter where it started over in Wuhan, China. That was in December of last year, and here we are mid-March, and now we are at a point. Yesterday in the news conference that was held by Governor Cooper, Dr. Cohen with the Department of Health was sharing that we're moving and preparing to move into the next phase. So we're moving from containment, where we were trying to make sure we didn't get it spreading out, to the reality that it's now, we have a confirmed case in our state, not in our region, thankfully, yet, but in our state that says we have a confirmed case of community transmission of COVID-19. So someone got it from the community. They didn't travel overseas. They weren't on a cruise ship. They weren't in an area outside of this area and brought it home, if you will. So that means we need to be ready, and we are actually seeing the state take steps to move us to mitigation, which means we're trying to, you hear the term, flatten that curve,
right,
and limit who's getting sick, so that we can treat the people who are sick in smaller numbers. Our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Teresa Herbert, who has been spearheading the efforts at AdventHealth here since we learned about this disease months ago, and she and our team have been working toward this, but she was sharing that to give people an idea of how this flattening the curve would work is if you take the steps to do things like self-quarantine, close schools, limit social gatherings, sit apart from each other, wash your hands. If you do those things to mitigate the number of people who are getting sick, you can flatten the curve so those who will get sick, it goes from, instead of having 50 patients coming into your office for care or your hospital for care, to 25, and you can manage that, care for them, get them well, and be ready for the next group. And that's really where we're talking about flattening the curve and mitigating the spread.
Yeah, because there is a max number of people that can be serviced by our health industry. So we've even heard, like, if you're not sick, don't go to the hospital. If this is something that you can. So what is AdventHealth? What is this area? Because I'm sure you guys are connected with other hospitals and working as a team. What is happening right now to get the information out? Where can people find information of? Are there numbers they can call? Like, I don't know if my kid should go to the hospital or not. I don't know. I have a surgery scheduled for next week.
Sure.
Where can we get information on that?
So I would direct you to call, if you aren't sure, you feel like you've got symptoms, you're not feeling well, I would direct you to call our nurse triage hotline. And that's a 24-hour phone line that people can call and talk to a registered nurse. And that number is 828-681-2300. And that's the Advent Health number. I also would direct you to our website, adventhealthnc.com. That's where we have information, but also at the very top, there's a green banner where you can click on that, and it links you to our dedicated website that has your coronavirus signs and symptoms and answers and access to information to help kind of give you the most recent current information, FAQs, information from our physicians. Also, it is a great resource for how to manage this, because there's some wonderful blogs on there about how you talk this through with your kids. How do you maintain contact with your loved ones if we're not allowed to be near them? Because, maybe my parents fall into the category of the high-risk group. So what are we doing? Well, they don't live really close to us, so that makes it a little easier to stay away, but we're calling. We're using technology to connect with them, and that's really important, because if there's an upside to this hitting now, we've got technology to connect with people. But call the hotline if you're not sure what's going on, 828-681-2300. The nurse will ask you questions, kind of do that pre-screening. And then if you do qualify, if you've got symptoms that are making us go, they're going to direct you to either, if it's something that's more along the lines of a flu or something along those lines, they might direct you to your primary care physician. If it's something else where you may need to have the COVID-19 test, they would direct you to either the testing sites that are open, or more likely you're going to get directed to the Henderson County. If you live in Henderson County, the Henderson County Health Department, and they will be able to help manage your next steps regarding that.
So now that we're stepping into this mitigation, at least in North Carolina as a state, testing is available, and it's become more and more available, which is great. Where are some of those locations that it is available to go get a test?
So testing is available, but we are also, as we move into the mitigation phase, we will become a little bit, the state will be handing down some information we anticipate to help us really maybe gauge the person who needs the COVID-19 test more closely. So we have a test site that is now, because we're seeing a decrease in the number of available tests. None of the testing sites are fully out, but we are at a place where we have to keep certain number on hand for our hospitals. So the county testing site that is over at Blue Ridge Community College will be augmenting its hours accordingly. We, in our drive-up testing site, have moved to flu testing and strep testing. Again, important not to bring those people who might be having those symptoms into the atmosphere of a doctor's office or the hospital where there could be COVID-19 patients. But we're going to monitor that every single day with the county, with our other healthcare systems around the area, and we will be operating, and when those the county is able to get more of the testing. And it's not, I don't want people to hear this and think we're out. And this is what was true on this day when we're taping. Yesterday, it was, a different story slightly. So tests are available. That's the thing to know. Not everyone needs a test. If you have mild symptoms and it's even a COVID-19 exposure, you may not need to have the test for a couple of reasons. And I don't want to say don't seek out medical input, but a couple of things we're seeing as we're listening to the CDC, the state health departments, and so on, is that with the testing and so on, as we get the backlog of those tests into the labs that are doing an amazing job of processing and running these tests for us. It's last night, it was a 6-day turn before you get your answer. So you come in, you get your COVID-19 test. You're going to be sent home with orders to quarantine and not go anywhere until you hear back the results of that test. So you're going to have 6 days automatically, maybe even up to 10 days before you hear back on the test. The self-quarantine period right now, it has not changed from the CDC, is 14 days. And again, I'm not the medical expert, but these are the numbers that we're seeing and that you can see too when you check out the websites that are out there. So you may be better off to just work with your physician, call the doctor's office or however you're working that, to mitigate and manage the symptoms. And you may not need to have that additional test.
What I'm hearing you say here is two things really. So there has to be some trust and faith put into our healthcare system. Mm-hmm. And whether you understand or not, putting that trust and faith will allow this to be handled in a responsible way?
I think that's important. It's hard because when you don't feel well and this is scary and this is information, believe me, I got a call earlier this week that my dad had to be taken to the hospital, and the first thing I thought is, okay, he's in that age range. He has compromised immunity. He has other things. And I was like, I was praying so hard, Lord, please don't let him or my mom, who's visiting him, be exposed to this in another state. And so I understand how real this is. I have loved ones who fall into not only my parents, it's even closer than that. And it's just one of those situations where you do have to have trust that we have people who have our best interest and are working so hard to make sure that we do the best by everybody. And that would be our leadership at the CDC, that would be our governor and our state leaders, that would be our county leaders, and that would be our colleagues across the healthcare system. If anything, I would just have to say, I wish you could be in on the meetings and the calls that are happening to see just how completely focused on the patient and the community these leaders are. And I'm saying that as someone who's observing it, but also living it. I mean, at Advent Health, we have a set of service standards that start with keep me safe. And it's keep me safe, love me, make it easy, and own it. And everything we do, we try to shape it around those. And I've never been prouder to see people, they start their conversations. Okay, we need to figure out how do we want to offer the testing. So what do we do to keep me safe? That's how it starts. It's right there. How do we encourage the people who are coming up who are scared to let them know that we love them and that we want to make it easy for them so they don't have to get out of their car, things like that. It's just really coming into play so much. And we are a faith-based organization. And for me, that's powerful because I have a very personal and strong faith in God. And to have an organization where we're starting our meetings with prayer, that's been going on for a long time. But that plays out also into the people who are at the front lines, the nurses, the doctors, the people who are greeting you and screening you at the various locations asking, can I take your temperature? Or have you been somewhere? Or have you been around someone? We can't forget the EMS, the EMTs that are out there, our firefighters, our police officers, the county leaders who are meeting and trying to make the decisions that are best. We're working really hard to make sure that we are loving them and supporting them and giving them what they need to do this every day. It's hard. It's hard for them to see their patients hurting. It's hard for them to see their patients and help them understand, I'm sorry, we are putting a hold on elective surgeries, but you and your doctor can have a conversation, and if it's an urgent surgery, we'll make things happen, things like that. It's hard for them, and I just encourage everyone who's listening to support the people who are out there on the front lines, who are doing everything they can.
Yeah, I think I've been saying it for days, is that if we look to the helpers, the people that have to go out in this, and understand looking for the helpers, I mean, it's just a way to calm our nerves, take a realistic view of what's going on, and that, there are nurses that are going to have to put themselves in danger of this virus. Yeah. And we don't have to be that. I'm not a nurse. So, right now I can say I can take care of my family. But there's nurses and doctors and healthcare professionals and firefighters and first responders that they made the choice a long time ago, right, that when something like this happens, they're going to be on the front line. And I love that that's part of your culture at Advent Health, mm-hmm, and that's just living itself out further now. As far as the government and the government entities, I mean, I love seeing leaders lead.
Yes,
and
right?
We're really seeing that now, especially here in North Carolina. And we can speak to North Carolina, mm-hmm, on how our local Hendersonville, Henderson County, yeah, our state officials are leading well. Mm-hmm. What are you seeing from the healthcare side of that, from being an institution here in town, from all our leaders?
Well, it's really, it's just so amazing. I know we have incredible people in these roles, and we're blessed to be in that situation. But to see them when all of this is starting to come really to a much more rapid pace we thought it was moving quickly last week. It's moving even faster this week as far as decisions that need to be made and actions that need to be taken. And to know that, one, they've been working toward this the whole time since we've known about this. But, the team at the county health department, we're calling in every day, bringing in the right group of people. It's the healthcare leaders, it's the emergency responders. We're talking to each other every morning and multiple times throughout the day, because this isn't just one. It really is so great that we have an entire team of people who are here to help each other and make things happen for each other. And on the other side of this, I don't know, I've got to talk to the county and say, how many awards can you guys give out? Because you've got an entire group of all-star players who are just, they're working, some of them round the clock. They're on calls, they're tracking information, and they're looking at it and weighing it against things like our population and who lives here and what demographic do they fall in and how do we take care of them and what do we do proactively? How do we get out in front and make the right decisions? And that conversation's being had every day, multiple times during the day. And if you've ever doubted our leadership, I'm here to tell you, we are so fortunate to have the people in the seats that are in the seats right now who need to be there. We've just got great, if I could instill some confidence in you, I'm just really thrilled to see how these people who are making up our leadership are the right folks at the right time.
That's great. Mm-hmm. Well, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about the what I'm going to say is the new word of 2020 is social distancing.
Ah, yes.
So,
hashtag, what is that?
Yeah. So I want to talk about first what it is, what it should look like from a health expert's point of view, and what our hospitals and healthcare professionals are telling us, and then also the impact that it has, and the importance of it. So can we go into first the action of it, and then maybe the purpose and feeling of it?
Sure. So social distancing is the terminology that the CDC is putting out regarding best practice for avoiding contact with potentially exposure to the COVID virus, COVID-19. And what it is a mindset. It really has to become a situation where you are thinking about it. It needs to be at the forefront of your mind because we're talking about keeping 6 feet away, limiting gatherings to, now the CDC is saying 10 or fewer people. It is talking about making sure when you are in a situation like that you practice good hygiene. So you and I can be here. I know you won't be offended that when I get done with this, I'm gonna go wash my hands.
Right.
And I hope you do too. But it's making sure that you are aware of your surroundings. And so many of us are so busy and we have so many things coming at us that we have a hard time slowing down to pay attention to our surroundings. We should be doing this all the time. Not the social distancing necessarily, but being aware of what's going on. You hear those stories about people who are texting and they walk into something. We need to focus on the fact that we need a little space. Doesn't mean that you can't see someone. But it does mean that you need to be distanced. And if you don't need to be in the same room with someone, use technology. Use a phone call. Phone calls are still viable in this day and age. You can do this. People are like, well, I can't use my video phone or video call. I'm like, just call.
Yeah.
Crazy. But you want to make sure that, like in our meetings now, we obviously have had a command center up and running for several weeks now. And I think we had a leadership meeting where our CEO came up, and he was, even before social distancing was coming out, he's like, I want you to cancel all non-essential meetings or move them to a Skype meeting. And I'm not kidding. I want you guys in your offices, or if you're working from home or whatever, I don't want you in the same rooms. I want you to have, if you have to be in the same room, 6 feet apart. And yesterday we had a meeting where we had to be in person, and we were literally in corners of the room, 6 feet or more between us and the others. It's weird at first, but it becomes normal. And it really can make the difference between you staying healthy or getting sick, or you giving someone something else. We might even see the other illnesses, diminish a little bit. But it's fun to make, have some fun with it and joke around and stuff. I saw a great little meme of someone washing someone's hair at a salon, and she had put rubber gloves on the end of 2 broomsticks. Someone's washing the hair. But you know what? That's okay. That would be a good idea.
Yeah, because there is a seriousness to it, and there's a purpose to it.
Yeah.
So let's discuss what that is, and why this needs to not just be a joke. And we're talking business, and I think, for me and my business, our sales meeting every Monday is on a video call. We're not
Yeah.
I don't have anyone that works in my office. So we have taken the next step in technology as our business, trying to be a step ahead. I think this is a thing everybody should be doing and using. And like you said, we're blessed to have the technology we have today.
Yeah.
I know my daughter would not have made it through 4 days already without the technology she had. But I also think of my in-laws, my parents, quarantining ourselves from them for them, not
Right.
for us, is
Right.
important. So let's talk about the importance and the purpose of social distancing.
Well, this is really personal for me because our daughter is turning 13, and she was going to have a party, and that got canceled. We were going to try to do a sleepover, but we are not doing that now. And she's like, "Why did COVID-19 have to hit around my birthday, and it have to be my 13th birthday?"
Yeah.
But we had a great conversation about it. And I said, we walked through, what happens if you get sick? That's one thing. But what happens if for some reason, because mom works in healthcare, and I mean, I'm following a lot of protocol to come in and out of the house, but what if I brought something home and you gave it to your friend, or your friend was here and I accidentally gave it to her? How would that make us feel? Is that what we're supposed to be doing? And I think that we're supposed to be showing each other an amazing amount of love. And the best way you can love people right now is to stay away from them. Get some space between the two of you, because it really is not just about you. It's not about what you're missing out on or whatever. It's about what you're helping make sure they don't miss out on.
Well, especially with our children, because correct me if I'm wrong, but they're saying that symptoms are not showing in children as fast or at all that are carriers. And
Right.
so they're never going to be tested. They're never going to know that they're positive. They could already be carrying it. And so the cautionary of protecting them from the higher at risk.
Yeah.
My daughter's 16, and she was like, well, 2%, of 16-year-olds are going to get it, and only 0.1 something percent of them are going to die from it. So, and she had the world number of how many 16-year-olds are going to die. And I'm like, yes, but switch those numbers to, go research what it is for your grandmother who is in her 70s, who has other health issues. Like, it just starts compounding, and then what's that number?
Right.
And do you want to cause that? And so I think it's a socially responsible and almost ethical decision that we have to make right now.
It is. You put that so well. It really is socially responsible, and it comes down to being ethical. And if we can get people to understand this is not forever, but for right now, this needs to be our new normal. And I mean, we're likely going to see a spike, and we're going to be seeing more cases, just like we've seen in other countries that have experienced this. It's going to happen. And then we're going to see it kind of dip off a little bit and come back up, and it comes in waves and so on. But can't we just make an adjustment for a little while that could help make that wave a little smaller?
Yeah.
And the lasting impact, because people will get this and they will recover. But I've had, we hear the doctors and we see the reports where they're concerned about what lasting impact it may have, because if it leads to pneumonia and other things, there can be lasting impacts on lives.
Other respiratory issues, right?
So
you talk about ebbs and flows and
Yeah.
timeline. Could you be more specific about timelines?
Yeah. I'm looking on my notes here because
That's okay, yeah.
I did totally get a cheat sheet from my chief medical officer for this, because she was talking about how this will work, and it'll come to you, it'll come to us once it becomes widespread in the local community. We can really expect about 45 to 60 days of surge in the number of cases that we see, the positives that are coming in, and the number of people who are getting sick like that. Then the COVID-19 is going to likely die down a little bit. So there's that, ebb and flow kind of thing going on. But then we were talking about this just yesterday with Dr. Herbert, and she was telling me that we can, about 6 to 8 weeks after that, we'll probably see another round where we'll see maybe most likely not as high case count, but we'll see an uptick again. And then it'll come off again. And then there's usually a third one with diseases like this. She said a third, much smaller wave. But the other thing that she shared too was the fact that after we go through this initial impact, we'll probably see the COVID-19 become something that we see as a seasonal disease, much like the flu. Now, whether it'll be in the same time frame as the flu or not, they're still not sure. They're still learning about this creature every day. But we will probably see it hit a seasonal cyclical impact on us, and it'll be something that down the road we'll look back and go, you remember when COVID-19 was so bad? And now it'll be kind of like influenza. I mean, we saw decades and decades ago, we saw the flu wipe out incredible number of population.
Yeah.
So
there, I mean, I want to keep saying there's hope,
yeah,
but there will be
is.
ebbs and flows. So even though that this is a short sacrifice, the lessons we're learning now should continue, right? Wash your hands,
yes,
distancing yourself when you are sick or showing symptoms, protecting our elders, should continue for years to come, right?
You know, we're all hoping that the better hand hygiene and other things like
Sticks
that
around,
stick.
right?
Yeah, we're not so good at that.
No. Yeah.
You don't realize how much you maybe, shortchange that happy birthday song when you're washing your hands until you're stopping and going, okay, wait.
Yeah, you only get through H when you're saying the alphabet. Yeah.
But we've had some fun ideas for different songs to sing in case you want to shake up the repertoire.
Right. That should be on Advent's website, is new songs to sing while you...
We have a really cute little girl doing a video to show us how to do it. So check out our Facebook page. Her name's Bailey, and she's a doll.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about testing and where to go for that, and a little bit about what to do if you're sick. But let's say someone's sick. Step one.
So are you talking like they've tested and we know, or they're feeling crummy?
Let's say they're showing a lot of these symptoms that are linked to COVID.
So you need to reach out to your physician, your doctor, or your provider, or call one of the hotlines, like I said, our 681-2300 hotline, or the health department where you live, in the county where you live, and share what's going on. Do not go directly to the emergency room unless you're having a true health emergency. Then get there, but don't go to your doctor's office without calling ahead. And it's not that they're not going to see you, but then they can be prepared to, if you do meet all of the checkpoints that are out there, and they are changing from day to day, but they still are kind of the basics. The fever, shortness of breath, or a cough, things along those lines. And you can find what the latest symptoms are at the CDC, and we of course got links to that on our website. But that's where you start. You call first, and then that talk with the office or the triage nurse will help you determine whether or not you need to go to the emergency room, whether you need to go to a testing site, or if you need to go to your doctor's office, they might say, come on in, call when you get to the parking lot. They may go out and take care of you there. They may bring you in masked and in a way that you're not going to be spreading or picking up something else. There's different protocol in place, and I wish I could say it's going to always be this way. You're going to get there and you'll do this A, B, and C, but it's changing as we find the need to move toward that mitigation point.
So we should continue that trust and faith in our health
Oh,
officials and listen to what they're saying in the moment at that time, not trust what worked yesterday might not work today.
That's really it. We're not seeing drastic changes where we're like, we were all told to do A, B, and C, and then all of a sudden it's X, Y, and Z. It's not that drastic, but it's little shifts and alterations to the best protocol, because again, the greatest scientific minds in the world are learning about this virus every single day. And our physicians at Advent Health are working directly with the CDC and other organizations. We've got leadership in our corporate organization that has worked for the CDC in the past. Our chief infection prevention doctor is one of those. And so we have a focused element, learning as much as we can about it from the World Health Organization, the CDC, and state leaders. And then we also have some of the greatest minds in medicine, people who know how to care for people, really ready to do what's best for you. And so it's easy for me to say, will you please trust us? But it's hard for us to give trust away easily. But never before have we been in a place where we need to really allow ourselves to put hope and trust in the leaders who are in place. And honestly, I personally am getting through this because I have a strong faith, and I'm praying. And prayer life or meditation. Those are some of the tips. And whatever your faith belief is, just taking time to pause and breathe and let yourself calm.
Yeah, I think my faith allows me to know that I'm not in control.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great lesson for people to learn right now, that there are things that we have to let go of controlling.
Mm-hmm.
I can't control what my in-laws do, but I can advise them on it. And, I can't control how this virus reacts and how the community leaders react to it, but I can have trust and faith in that
Mm-hmm.
it'll be okay. So the biggest question that I've had unanswered, and I don't think we're going to answer it now, so just to preface that to everybody.
Okay.
What is the green light? So I'll preference this in saying that we've seen what I believe is a yellow light. Social distancing,
Mm-hmm.
shutting down of restaurants, shutting down of schools. Some people would say that's a red light. I think that's a yellow light, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we see red lights in Italy. We see
Sure.
people having to fill out forms online to go grocery shopping.
Right.
We're not there here in our community. I don't know if we will, and that's not really what I want to discuss, because for me, getting there is not something out of my control. So
Right.
I don't want to worry about that, but maybe discuss what is that green light? Like, how do we know everything, like you said, it's going to ebb and flow. There's a days. We can't say, hey, in 50 days, everything's going to be better. Hey, we took 2 weeks off from school. We're going to be able to go back in 2 weeks. From a medical expert standpoint, where would I don't even know the question, like, where is that green light? Where is because from what we've talked about already, my question has already morphed, because it doesn't sound like there's going to be a green light. We're going to stay on yellow light for a while.
Absolutely.
But maybe more traffic can flow through yellow light. Maybe roundabouts, maybe. Sorry to bring up a local issue here, but I have hope. But giving others hope, where's that green light? Where's that ability to know things can go back to normal, that we may have to take some of the lessons we learned and apply them moving forward,
Sure.
but that we can sit in a room with 10 people and feel comfortable. Our kids can go back to school and we can feel comfortable.
Ooh, I don't know.
And maybe there's not an answer and you shouldn't answer.
I don't know that I can answer,
Yeah.
because again, that's one of those things where we just don't have the ability to see that far into the future. I would say there will be a green light. I do believe that. But when we'll get to that, I just don't know. And the reason I say that is because of the fact that what you talked about, it is changing. I mean, we just heard that there's a likelihood they're going to extend this time out of school for the kids. Other states have already said that, the school year's done for them.
Right.
They're doing the virtual and so on, but they're not going to go back into the buildings. What I could say is, I would agree we're kind of in a yellow light, but as the mother of a young man who's learning how to drive, I want to say that doesn't mean you go slam on the gas to get through the intersection. Yellow really is a caution, and please adhere to what you're hearing from the people who are in those meetings, who are talking to the leaders. There's a lot of information to disseminate, and we need to trust the people who are listening to that message come down, that they're relaying it effectively. Trust your resources, and make sure you're using the right resources. Don't take everything at face value. Do a little detective work and make sure that the source behind the headline is the one you can trust.
That's great advice. And
Because I
we're
think we're getting scared that way.
Yeah, and we will go ahead in the description of this and on the podcast, we'll share links to Advent Health. We'll share links to the CDC, the WHO, and places where you can get information from the experts,
Yeah.
and not Facebook and Twitter, which, to be honest, Twitter is one of my favorite news sources, because you
Yeah.
can follow the experts.
Right.
And so I go to Twitter a lot to follow experts and hear what they're saying and what their thoughts on things are. And so it's weird so go to Twitter if you follow the right people.
That's right. Well, that's just like I'm listening to you and your podcast because I know you and I trust you.
That's right. So even though we didn't start as we normally do on the Jared Bellman Show, I want to finish that way. So I always ask 3 questions of my guests, just to kind of, it's fun.
I trust you.
So what is the most influential book you've read in the last 6 months?
Wow. Get Out of Your Head. It's a new book by Jenny Allen, and it's talking about how there's a lot of battles that go on in your brain, and sometimes you need to make sure that you are taking control of your thoughts. It is a faith-based book, but it is a book that talks about how we're supposed to take control of your thoughts and not let things get out of control. And boy, oh boy, am I glad I read it a couple weeks ago.
Get out of your head. Yeah, it might be a real good read for everybody right now.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
In the last 6 months, what's something that you've had to say no to?
Social gatherings of 10 or more people.
That is true. Let's go with that one. Social gatherings, yes. So let's stick with that one.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big one. That's a big one.
I mean, yes.
Yeah. And then the last one is, if I could give you a billboard that you could put whatever you want on it, it could say whatever you want it to say, and millions of people will see this billboard, what would you put on it?
Wow. Gosh. I love you, but God loves you more.
I love you, but God loves you more. I love that. That's well said. Victoria, it was a pleasure having you. Thank you for taking the time. I know you guys are very busy, and we appreciate what you do, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be here. We look forward to seeing you around the community.
You bet.
From 6 feet away.
Absolutely.
In small groups, but seeing you around, and things will get back to normal. But we appreciate everything Advent Health does for this community.
Well, it's our pleasure, and I just thank you for the opportunity to come and tell you a little bit about what's going on in the situation in our community, and letting you know that you've got incredible healthcare systems across our system. Advent Health is just so honored to be part of that. Thank you.
Thank you for watching The Jared Bellman Show. Be sure to hit subscribe, ring the bell for future notifications, and check out the description for more information.